Hi, my name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network, Woman of Inspiration Awards, and this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast, where we speak with women who lead, inspire, and motivate. Today, I have a very special guest in the studio with me today. I have Sandra Filopoulos, and she is the co-founder of Filo Imports Inc., which is a company specializing in importing unique products. Now, Sandra, welcome. You have a massive story for why it is that you're doing what you're doing. So I'm really looking forward to this interview that's been on the books for a couple months now since you were in New York with us for the Woman of
Exactly.
Inspiration Awards as you received the Woman-Led Award. So congratulations once again. And I am so excited to have this podcast with you today.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you for having me.
So I always say that, I like to go back and say, if you have accomplished so much in your career. I know we talked in the green room. I'm like, why don't you pull out that big, beautiful award that you won? And let's put it front and center. And she goes, oh, you mean the one on the great big bookshelf with all of the other awards that I've won? I'm like, yeah, that one, the newest one.
Yeah.
So, Sandra, you're an award-winning entrepreneur. Where did you start your journey? Do you remember what you were like when you were 11 years old? Did you have a vision of what you wanted to be when you grew up?
So it's a interesting question that you're asking me because we were sitting at the table having supper with my mom actually maybe 2, 3 weeks ago. And since I had just received my latest award,
So beautiful. Hold it up. I mean, it's heavy. It's
it is,
crystal.
it's
It
very
is
heavy, extremely heavy. It's
solid. Yes,
beautiful,
both hands are
beautiful.
required.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So as I was showing my son and my mom was there, and then she brought back a memory that I had forgotten, and she goes, when I was about maybe like 9 or 10 years old, I was in school, and there was this contest done through the city hall, and they were asking all of our, the same graders, maybe 3 or 4 classes, but from all the schools from that city, right? So not just my school, all the schools, the same grade, to write a letter to the mayor and explaining what, like sharing good ideas of what they should be doing for the population and why and whatnot. I don't remember the letter, but I do remember when my mom brought that up. She goes, I'm not surprised because since you've been a little kid, like a child, you've always been like either on the news, either winning a prize, either like really a leader, right? And so it made me think, yes, it's true. And looking back, I tell myself, yes, I was born a leader without knowing, right? And it's also I've with my career, which I'll path, very atypical. It has led me to become that leader that I am now. And what's really even for me, what I love about the whole thing is that I've received these awards. Yes, of course, you have to prepare your file and you have to think about it, and right. But it's always came like on a natural way where somebody puts me in contact and then they bring that up to me, and then yes, I work it, and that makes me realize the accomplishments.
Mm.
So if I think of when I was preparing my file, for Universal Women Awards, it enables you to take the time right out of your business, out of like the operations and everything going fast, and realizing all the accomplishments that you've done, and it makes you realize also why you deserve it, and it gives you that fire in you to continue, like your journey.
Mm.
So yeah, so coming back to your question, from a very young age, I've been in the, how can I say, in the front, right? Being recognized for, yeah, for achieving great things from a young age. Yeah.
So I'm going to say born as a leader. And I know that leadership is, there are some born leaders. Obviously, you are a born leader. That is something that comes very natural to you. Do you think that people are born into it, or can people that are not leaders build the skills to become great leaders?
I believe in both. So I believe looking back at when I was young, yes, I have that in me, right? So I'm Aries. My birthday's coming up. And I think seeing other Aries, not to put on the side of other, because I don't know how the other people are, but I know for a fact that most Aries that I know are go-getters. They like the attention, I guess. They like to be first. We're competitive in a healthy way, obviously. So I think you are born, but you have to develop it, right? So when I did my MBA, look, I think of it and I chose it in leadership. So my MBA was in leadership without knowing that one day I would be leading my own company because, as you know, Monica, I'm a nurse, right, of profession. And so I was 18 when I was a nurse. So you graduate very young because there's the technique, right, that you do, and then you go to university. So I would never in my life think that I would go into business. Never, yet alone in import export, in the licensing world, in the development of products, and bringing to market. Never I would have thought that, right? But it's the fact that as a nurse, you do lead because you are the person that will, look at your patient holistically and lead the way, lead what should be done first for the benefit, for the health benefit of that patient, right? So all in all, everything that I've done is leading, right? But now that I'm more conscious about it, it's so important for me to always lead by example. So that's what guides me into the way I lead. So when you ask that question, I would say to have a perfect leadership, I think you need both. You need to have that in you because you can't really force it. Somebody that is not a PR person. It's okay, right? A lot of people, they might want to lead, but they don't know how to talk to people. They're not, they don't feel the other person, right? So I think that both a combination will really, I think, be the 100% of a leader. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. And, of all of the women that I've spoken to, Sandra, it is never linear,
Yeah.
ever. Like all of the things that you do along your journey is
Yeah.
kind of like this windy road and a squiggly line.
Yeah.
And then you get to where you're going to be, but all of those experiences that you've actually experienced are never mistakes. They're always opportunities, and they're always filled with a lesson
Yeah.
that you actually do need to get to where you need to be. So if we listen to those, intuition
Yeah.
and to lean into exactly being so self-aware of where our strengths are and where we
Yeah.
need to go without any questioning, it usually does have a reason and a purpose. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I think that's amazing. And so I would love for you to share a little bit about, like nurse to
Yeah.
entrepreneur. And I know
Yeah.
that women, it never surprises me. We go through many, many transitions of careers in our lifetime. But what was your journey and what led you from nursing
Yeah.
to entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So it's long story short, obviously. So I graduated very young, as I mentioned earlier, right? I was 18, 19. And so then I was always good at school. So that was something that, how can I say? I loved school and I was good. So I just kept on going, right? I love to learn. Um, and so I did bedside nursing for 3 years. And again, I had really great mentors, right? Whether it was doctors, nurses, teachers, they saw something in me and they came and told me about it. And so, okay, how come? Like, I don't see that. How come you see that? Oh, okay, well, what should I do to get to that point, right? So I believe that I was raised by my grandmother, okay, by my maternal grandmother. So I'm an only child. I was raised by an older woman. So obviously they're wiser, right? Even though she barely went to school, but she had 10 kids. She had a living, right? She had that experience. I think that because of my profession at such a young age and because my grandmother took care of me, I was already mature, right? There's a lot of things that I may not have done, but there's a lot of things that I understood about life that not many people at my age understood. And so that got me to that point. So from nursing, then I did research in nursing. Then one of my teachers in pharmaceutical, right, told me towards the end of my classes what I was doing in his class. And I was graduating that year. And I said, oh my God, what happened? Did I fail, right? And this guy, I respected him very much because he was the previous president of the Order of Pharmacists here in Quebec, so, right? So I asked him and he goes, go do your MBA. You're wasting your time. You shouldn't be doing any pharmaceutical stuff and whatnot. This is not for you. Okay. So I look into my MBA and I applied for my MBA because of him. I flunked my TSA twice and I said, there's no way I'm going to get in. But that was the best advice. And so up to today, that was the moment that I understood that being in business, right? It's okay. It's not when you're a healthcare professional, there's something in your mind that says business is for somebody, sorry for my words, but that you're screwing somebody, right? That you're taking advantage of them, that, but it's not true. Because when I finished my MBA and I went to sell medical equipment, medical device, I never sold pharmaceuticals, but medical device, that's when it all, like, I understood everything. You can sell with integrity. That's my Bible. That was the Bible at Johnson & Johnson when they trained me for a whole week in the US. And I loved it. Why? Because as a nurse, you abide by your, there's an ethical way of behaving towards your patient, towards your order, towards the people. And so for me, it was very important. But you can definitely sell in a very ethical way, respectful way. So what do you need? You need a product or a service. You need your customer. You need a price. And what's the added value that you're going to give and the service? That's what it is. And so no matter what area you are, whether you're selling medical equipment or you're selling a Paw Patrol plush, right? Or a light, it's the same principle. And so I think, to your question, I understood that I was good in business way later. I've always done business like any kid, right? My son, when he wants something, he sells it to me. So that's selling, right? Without knowing that you're selling yourself. But I came to consciously understand that I was good in sales because of my baggage, because I understood, I took the time to understand who I was dealing with, what that person needed, how they were, so I can have an exchange, because it needs to be a win-win situation. And to answer the last part of your question is, how, like, I'm in sales now, yes. How come I'm a business owner, I'm a co-founder of a business in a total different area. So my son, who's now 11, he was born with a heart malformation. We call that the transposition of the great artery. So long story short, it's your aorta, your main artery, and your pulmonary artery that are switched. So that's why these babies, when they're born, they call them the blue babies. They have 5 minutes of life if they don't get medical attention right away. And so when I did my nursing school, so what, 25 years ago, right? They, or more, they did not survive these babies. So this is very new, that they can operate and really fix their heart. And, you met Emmanuel. So he's 11, you met him.
He's so sweet. So sweet.
Yeah.
He's like, we're building a support her and him.
Yeah, and he will be, because I see him how he is, how he treats equally, how it's important for me, not only for his mama, but obviously he you have a son, you know how it is, but they're so cute, this morning, oh mama, you have a meeting, you look so beautiful, like, like he pays attention. And then he's so proud that some of my awards, I can't have them here, I have to leave them at home, because he's proud of it. And he's like, no, I went with you to that award. I want it there. You know what I mean? So you could see that you'll have that support from him. And that's the type of mama that I want to be also, right? Like, you have to respect us as a woman, but you also have to give us that space, like we're equal in that perspective. So coming back to why we started Filo Import. So my business partner, who's also my spouse, he was in the import-export business, okay? Before, he had a previous company. It was no longer working out between him and his partner. So I told myself there's no point in getting sick over a business that you started. I mean, life is short. That's my perspective, right? There's no money in the world that will come before my mental and physical health. That's an absolute non-negotiable. So if you're not happy, you should change. And at that point, Emmanuel, when I was doing my MBA, I had told him we are completely the opposite. And so I think that there would be something cool that we could do. That was just an idea that I just threw like that. But I had my great career, great salary, the whole thing. He was happy. But then when Emmanuel was born, it changes your perspective, right? And although as a nurse, I've always been very thankful about life, very like I realized that today we're here and tomorrow we may not. I've always realized that, and I know that. But when it comes to it's my only child, my first and only child, and he's in the ICU with the open chest after heart surgery at 4 pounds, a term. He was a term baby. And you see him with all these things. And although I'm a nurse, I'm used to those things. It's still your child that I never got to hold before he was 2 months. That I had my C-section at one hospital. And back then it was a different hospital, not like now that they merged all the hospitals at the MUHC. I had to give birth, C-section. They took him away, right? And usually, you have to stay in for 5 days. I signed off after the third day because I told the doctor, I have to meet my son in case he dies, right? I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to call the cops? Call the cops. I'm going to sign myself off, right? So I went to meet him. So that changed my perspective. And all along, I stayed next to Emmanuel in the ICU, not being able to do anything because I was just holding, and I'll send you a picture, well, just holding his finger, right? Because he was so attached by everywhere. I mean, it's like, you look at the picture and you're like, how can this be done, right? It's like, it's incredible what the medicine and these people, they do to save lives. But I told myself, I said, we need to do something. And that's when I told Terry, I said, look, it's not, we need to do something together. If he goes through, I'm sure that we're going through this because there's something bigger. I want to make sure to give back to the hospital that will save his life. And that's how it started, Monica. It wasn't something like specific or anything like that. It was just ideas. And looking at it now is all these things were preparing me for today, right? And it's a good thing that I had to go through the biggest obstacle of my life, which was that, and will by far be always that, because as you know, running a business is not like this. Every single day there's obstacles, and people may see, we're all well dressed up and we're all happy in the whole thing, but there's stresses that we don't even that we can't even share how it is, but that's how it is being an entrepreneur, right? Like you have to take these risks. Yes, they're calculated, but always look, COVID. Who would have thought that there was COVID? Who would have thought what's going on with the US and the exchange rate and the whole, everything else that I'll leave aside. But this is the reality of being a business owner. But when you have that objective beyond just making money, that objective of I need to give back to the hospital that saved him. I want to start this fund. I want to start this with them. I want to be able to, all these things. That's what kept me going when all of my body was saying, oh, you know what, Sandra, this is way so much, because you probably, in the import-export business, it's a lot of cash flow. It's a lot of time. It's 24/7. But what keeps me going when we go through those obstacles is that face of Manuel in the bed, people taking care of him. And then I see him healthy now, coming to all my events with me, right? And being proud. And I'm going, that's why I'm here. And that's why I have to go through these obstacles. What they say, that song, right? What doesn't break you, right? Makes it. So long story short, that's why I'm here today, Monica. And I'm happy to say that because of my son, the worst obstacle of my life, I was able to turn that into something positive, that I see now the growth of our company. Yes, there's obstacles like any other company. It's not perfect, but I love the fact that every single team member in my team loves to give back. they have that in them, right? And so the people that have stayed with us, we don't impose, we don't ask them to give money or anything like that, but we do our team building events associated with, the Montreal Children's, with another foundation, all pediatric related, obviously, causes, and they come and they're proud and they're happy. And so it ignites that fire of these people also, that they love that. They love giving back. And so it's more than just me wanting to give back, right? It's the company's value and mission to be profitable, to be able to give back, because we see what it does, right? At the end user, which is the hospital patients.
Beautiful. Well, I have met your son, and he is just a gem. And so proud of you,
Yeah.
if I can say that. Like, he was beaming and
Yeah.
just like, he was like, the way he looked at you, and it was just like, he was like, I don't, when you said that that was his award, like literally, that is his award. You're
Yeah.
going to be sharing that with Emmanuel, because he was
Absolutely.
that proud of you
Absolutely.
about you
Absolutely.
receiving it, because he sees all the work that you do.
Yeah.
And that leading by example, whether we realize it or not, there's little eyes watching us all over. And the ripple is so far reaching, where we don't actually know the impact that we're making in the lives of other people.
Yeah.
We just don't know the full impact. So I think that's really precious to share. And he is going to be, probably one of your biggest spokespersons, when he reaches that age where he's like,
Yeah.
okay, I got a microphone, I'm going to use it now. I'm going to be able to
Yeah.
tell the story from my perspective and what it means to me.
Yeah.
And, so that it's a beautiful story, Sandra. And, when I look around and, we celebrate the achievements of women and why it's so important, I think you articulated that in the beginning, and I'd like to touch on that a little bit more, was that you have this responsibility now in order to inspire others, to show
Yeah.
them what is possible. And so, if we can go back to that moment, you've won so many awards. Is it just another award, or, like, does it, because we've achieved it, we keep growing, right?
Yeah.
So what was that feeling when you won the award in New York?
Yeah.
Just
So
that for somebody, because I think that's really important. There's so many people that are like, they've achieved so much success, and I completely agree. I encourage people to get that folder, do your bio, update your bio, ask for those letters of reference, because
mm,
when else do you ask for a letter of reference? And the people that are shy about asking get what they ask for, but the people that
yeah.
ask everybody, they get a ton. Like, I had
Yeah.
somebody ask for letters of reference and take my advice. They got 42 letters of reference back. That is good reading on a rainy day when your roller coaster is at the bottom, not at
Yeah.
the top. Like, that pumps up your fuel and go,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I actually have value and worth. So
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I'd love to know what that experience was like for you, because there's people sitting on the fence not having
Yeah.
ever gone through that even once,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
experience how gratifying that is, to look back and go, I did that.
Yeah. Well, Monica, it's I love the fact that you brought it up, because look, right behind all those are letters of, like, so my awards are in our showroom, right? But here are all letters, whether it's from government or, whatnot, congratulating either myself, or when it's a prize for the company. And I leave them there, right? Because to your point, what it does, when people say, oh, okay, well, she's probably used to it because, every year she wins an award and whatnot. For me, I don't just take it as just an award or it's another award. I take it as, personally, that's me, okay, what I'm going to say. It might be different for other people. I'm talking, personally, how I feel is, I find that going like this, yes, it's hard, obviously, but keep on going like this, it's even harder. And so for me, these awards, right, comes, it's a testament for myself
Mhm.
that I'm being recognized and I'm going through the right path. although all these obstacles are there, right? And I find that it's harder to stay on top than when I was here. Because
Mhm.
now all the eyes are on me, right? Like a lot of people, they recognize who I am. I have no clue who they are. And it's nice to see that they look up to me, right? And so I tell myself, when, let's say if we take an example, concrete example, the last one was in New York, right? The fact that it's in New York, the fact that it's a North American, right? The fact that, Universal Women Network is international, it's not just a recognition here in Quebec or in Canada. It's really, it's much bigger. And so that's how I felt in New York. For me, that prize was particularly special for two reasons. One, because yes, it's more North American, right? But it's also that I had my mama and my son with me. We were outside, so you don't have all those big stresses from the office environment. And so you can focus, we had 2 days and a half, almost 3 days
Mhm.
altogether. And so it was just about living, before the award, you had set up, great, uh, speeches and people sharing their stories from all different, backgrounds. And that was very motivating. And the last day, obviously, there was the awards. And then what I loved by far was the last day when we all went to the New York Stock Exchange. For me, that was the moment. Because when I went and I came back, and I showed pictures to Emmanuel, I explained to him what that little girl was all about and why you brought us to that place. So there was it was very symbolic. So there was a meaning behind it. And I
Mhm.
think that for me, that's what was so much, so precious about this award compared to all the other awards. But every single award is part of you, right? And so
Mhm.
I don't take any award for granted. I don't say, oh, well, it's just another, really not, because it's a recognition of a constant hard work that I've been putting all these years. And it's not just like this, it's constant. And I love inspiring myself. And the first thing I do in the morning when I wake up, I have my routine, obviously. No phone. I drink my green juice. I take my dog out and I read something positive, right? And I love, love, love Kobe Bryant, like many people, obviously. And it's a shame that he's no longer here with us, but his legacy's there. And there's so many videos of him talking about the discipline, how important it is. And it is so true. When people ask me, it seems so easy for you. How do you do it? And in my mind, it's like, it's not easy. It's because I have the discipline. I sleep early. I have my routines. I take care of myself. I prioritize. I write down. I say no to the distractions that are so easy. Yeah, I want to do this. Yes, I want to let go. I want to do that. But not, Sandra, that's not going to help you with your path. And so when you have a clear objective, personally, professionally, you will get there, but you need discipline. And that's what I believe, that my discipline is what gets me these prizes, right? That's what I
Mhm.
truly believe. So that's what gives me that little edge of I want that prize, because that will mean that I succeeded, that I went a little bit further. I went above and beyond what Sandra was able to do yesterday. That's how I see it.
I absolutely love that. And I want to reconfirm the importance of continuing continuing to build and grow and learn.
Yeah,
Like you said, I want Sandra to be a little bit better than I was the day before. And you know what? That is something that everybody can do,
yeah,
whether they're running a company, supporting people, or whatever job or industry that you're in. You can wake up today
yeah,
and decide on a routine, do one thing, just pick one thing
yeah.
that is going to make an improvement in your life and be
That's it.
consistent about it. And
Yeah,
that discipline, I think, when you're used to doing it, you make it look so easy. but it's not easy. And you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, I've started, like, I've tried to have a morning routine and I still don't have one nailed. I'm being completely honest because, it always changes. As a single mom, it
Yeah.
changed every morning for me.
Yeah.
Like I could have this all laid out and then all of a sudden shit would hit the fan and
Yeah.
I would just be, well, that goes out the door.
Yeah.
So only now, since, only now am I really able, because I'm just in that space where I'm just looking after myself, am
Yeah.
I able to really be more consistent with the actions of even a daily routine for me?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
mind blowing. But I'm consistent in other ways and all that sort of stuff. But and I have more routines than I uh, am giving myself credit for. But that, anyways, I love that, and I agree with you. Consistency and discipline is huge.
Yeah.
Hard work doesn't come easy.
Oh, no, not at all. No.
Nope. So I would also like to chat with you. Like, I just love the fact that you shared with me about the day 3 experience. And like for those that are listening, I just want to share a little bit about that experience because the whole kind of setup for this, 3 days of learning and celebration and connection was exactly it. How can we
Yeah.
connect? How can we have an experience? And how can we celebrate? And so the rooftop that first night was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like dream big. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what New York really is. It's about bringing big visions to life in the Big Apple. There's some energy that you could not possibly bottle up anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
That has a vibe.
Yeah.
And to hit that off that first night was really very cool. The next day was, I mean, that whole 10 hours went like so fast.
Yeah.
And then the next day was, and that next day was a big day. It was like you were on the panel, you were sharing your leadership journey, and the awards piece. And, it was a whole vibe that day, which, we were trying to create that experience that people could go back to it and then go, okay, I'm inspired to go forward. But the third day, I agree with you. That was one of my favorite times as well because it was creating that experience and you guys ran with me on that one. We had the background or the backdrop for the stage, which we just took with us. We just grabbed it and went because it was too beautiful. It said inspire change. It was 8 feet long by 4 feet deep. And it was a powerful statement.
Yeah. We were walking everywhere in New York and in the train with that.
But I
That
didn't know where to put
it's
it. I thought, oh, I'll stuff it here, at I'll just I didn't want to destroy it. I wanted to keep it, but I knew that we couldn't take it in a cab
yeah.
with us to go down to the Fearless Girl at the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
But you guys pivoted and you're just like, do you remember those ladies on the street
Yeah.
as we were deciding that yes, we're gonna go to the subway
Yeah.
because we'll take this on the subway. And we were
Yeah.
so excited. And we didn't even get 2 steps like out the door with the sign and all those other signs where these women came on the corner. Do you remember that? And
Yeah.
they're
And
like,
people, yeah, they were taking
whatever
pictures. They
you're
were asking
whatever you're
people.
selling, we want. Thank you for doing what you're doing. And they had no idea what we were doing. It
Yeah.
was just, it created a buzz and excitement that was super exciting. And I felt so empowered as a woman at that time.
Yeah.
And then knowing where we were going. They didn't even know what we were doing or what we just
Yeah.
had done over the past couple days or where we're heading off to or what it meant. Um, and then going through the subway with that sign. I mean, it was just like everybody's like they wanted some of whatever we were offering without even
Yeah.
knowing what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
No, it was a
super unique.
memorable moment for sure.
And then we got to the Fearless Girl, and then it was just, I don't know. What did you feel like when you got there?
It's I think that obviously there was tourists taking pictures and whatnot, but did you notice that people, when they understood who we were, what we're doing and whatnot, they were like giving us the place to take all these bunch of pictures. Like I think that we took over the space, right? There was nobody else able to take pictures, but they were just looking at us like, and asking questions and whatnot. So I truly think that we had our moment, we have our space, and it was very significant, and people were seeing it, right? So no, it was at the same time, it was so funny, everything that just had happened. And then afterwards, it was very meaningful, right? So it was just the perfect ending for after 3 days, that loop. It was just perfect.
And you know what I loved is that was your moment as well as a leader, just to soak in that just for you. And I know
Yeah,
you had, brought your mom and your son and, to experience those pieces the day before, but that
yeah,
third day was well, they were off touring, and the
yeah.
sights
But they
and the
were at the
zoo,
park.
doing
Yeah,
some cool stuff that were age appropriate and memorable. You got to experience something that was just for you.
true, true.
Super great. Anyways, I that honestly, anyways, I could talk about that forever. And I just reminds me that we're celebrating, International Women's Month. And, we're gonna post, we should post and talk about this. And of course, this podcast's gonna come out. So everybody's gonna know what the heck this is all about. So they're gonna just have to check out the feed because we'll do a post about that and share some behind the scenes about that experience. But
Absolutely.
what I'd love to know, I mean, these podcasts, the reason why I love having the Woman of Inspiration podcast on is because we learn from women about their experiences. It helps us feel that we're not so alone in the world. But what have been the biggest barriers for you as a woman succeeding in business?
I have to say, okay, well, in my reality, right? So being a nurse, being recognized with all my titles, because obviously like I said in the beginning, right? I was good in school and I went to school all my life, even, and I continue. I love to learn. And so when I needed to have an appointment with a physician or whatnot, with a prospect, right? When I was selling medical equipment, well, it was a lot easier for me because they would look at my title and they would know that they can trust me, that there was a mutual respect, that I was there for a good reason. You know what I mean? Like just there, I had that recognition. I changed careers because, I'm in the licensing world. So we hold the license, we develop our own products, we manufacture, we import, and we distribute, right? It's a complete different area, right? And so for me, the hardest part of being a woman in this type of business was also on top of not being from this world, right? Of usually dealing with, high-end prospects where they treat you with that respect. Here is a chair, let's have a formal meeting. And, I'm being prepared with all my notes and stuff, to coming to the retail where they forget you have an appointment. You're there overdressed. I mean, I'm in my suit and they're like looking at me like, what is she doing? Right? Like they're right. Um, and then them either forgetting my meeting, putting me in a corner, like in the warehouse, like, and I'm going, oh wow, is this it? Right? Like seriously. So for me, it was a hit on my ego because I was not used to that. But
Mm.
coming back to what I said, when you go through a moment so crucial with my son, right? And I decided to make that move to this world because I had an objective, a philanthropic mission. That's what kept me going. Because if not, Monica, the first day somebody would have said, "You can present in the warehouse," I would have said, I won't say it live, but you understand what I would have said, right? But that kept me grounded, and I realized why I was doing it. But the hardest part was for me that look of she's a
You
nobody.
don't matter.
I'm a nobody, right? And it's like, okay, oh, really? Okay, let me prove you wrong. Again, it comes back to the same principle of my recognitions. It's, I am worth it. I believe
Mhm.
in myself. And so by getting these recognitions, it's, hey, you should also recognize who I am and what I can bring value to you. It's not just me, is if you work with me, you will get a great person to work with. You will get somebody that is recognized in this. you will get, a real partner, not just somebody who just wants to sell. I am all for long-term relationships. I have never been and will never be a type of person that will sell you one thing, knowing first that it's not for you, and knowing that I will not have repeat business because that's not good for you. Never, never, never. So when it comes to that part, I'm really proud that I kept that authenticity. I'm not surprised that the prize that I won was in the authentic leader, right? Because I could have wanted another, you had, I think, eight maybe different types of,
Yes, we had more, yeah, we had more categories than
more.
I'm
And
having
look,
a
I got
menopause brain fog moment right now, Sandra.
I got the authentic leader. And it is true. That's who I am. I am authentic. And you know what? Many years ago, I would have been shy because I'm loud, because I'm straightforward. Like I'll be respectful, but I say it. I mean, I'm not shy. I'll say it. What's the point of sugarcoating? There's no point. I mean, it's not good for you. It's not good for me. I mean, it's not worth it. So many years ago, I would have stopped a bit because people would think, oh my God, she's so intense, this girl. Oh my God, she's like overwhelming. Oh my God. Well, you know what? Nowadays, it is my strength. That's who I am. I am half Colombian, right? It is in my DNA, but it's also that I know who I am. And you said it earlier, Monica. When we know who we are, when we know what we are worth and what we can do, nothing will stop us. And so when you say what was the hardest moment becoming an entrepreneur as a woman, especially from a different domain, right, is really that non-respect, the non-verbal. They didn't even have to tell me. It was just, okay, go there. Like, I'm not a kid. Like, seriously, you're talking to me like that? Like, in my mind, it's like, seriously? Obviously, you have to be diplomatic, right? Because we've built this from zero, from the ground up. It's not like we had a customer. Like I had to knock on doors, right? And for
Mhm.
$200, I mean, it's peanuts, but I had to start there. And that hard work is what I am thankful for and not ashamed of, right? I'm thankful because I know how hard it is when you're here. And that's why I always give chances to new business, to startups. That's why if somebody needs my help, even if I'm not getting paid, I'll try my best to help you. I'll because I know what it is to be there. But if I was able to do it, anybody can do it. Like,
But the recipe there, thank you for that. There's so much there, Sandra, and I think it goes back to consistency,
yeah,
being self-aware, and the other word is you're an action taker. And we
yeah,
don't talk about enough about the actual, you can have all the greatest ideas in the world,
yeah,
but until you actually start taking action, you can't ever bring anything to life or make these decisions, make these pivots. You
right,
can't start goals. You can't achieve your milestones without taking actions. It's that simple.
yeah,
If you just talk and no do, nothing happens. So, um, and I'm right with you with treating everybody the way that you'd want to be treated yourself.
yeah,
And so even though you're not gaining the respect that you would hope that you would want to give somebody else,
yeah,
that lead by example comes a lot into the DNA, into the picture of, what a woman of inspiration is.
yeah,
I've heard people say they drive their cars better now, where they're, they're let people in, they wave, there's no flipping anybody off. Like they're like, I don't even speed anymore. So we're doing some
yeah,
really great things with Woman of Inspiration. The title of that, it just makes you
yeah,
own it a little bit more,
absolutely.
and really proud about being a woman and taking up space and valuing your contribution. So,
Yeah,
oh my God, like I get all fired up. And by the way, I did get goosebumps when you talked about your purpose, that bigger purpose of why you're doing what you're doing. And you want to make like a lasting impact and legacy and something that's going to help serve others. And so I kind of, as you were telling me that story, I had goosebumps under my blazer, and it's not cold in here. They were just really, I just felt really touched by your story, and I felt it. So that's pretty special.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. So we're kind of wrapping up. We're near the end, but we haven't even touched base about support her. And support her is really important to me. Of course, I'm a mom of a boy, single mom. So, boys are really special in my world because I think we need more male role models that are champions for women. And I wasn't ready to just wait until there was that. So we created Support Her to elevate the men that were champions for women. And I still
Yeah.
remember the advisors that I had at the time telling me that was suicide. And I'm just like, taking it under advisement, but this is what we're going to do. And, you know, after so many conversations with leaders that have achieved great success, I didn't get here because I had no support. I was surrounded by
Yeah.
phenomenal male leaders that wanted to see me succeed. So,
Yeah.
why, Sandra, for you, is Support Her important to you, and who are those support hers in your world?
Yeah. Well, it is very important because the first thing, Monica, is a lot of people may think because it says women, right? Universal Women Network, or anything that has to do with a woman, like a team or whatnot, because there's that word, they might think that it's sexist because it's only women, and it's not true. We say women because we are women, right? But it goes both ways. So in order for us to be that woman, we need that help from other men. We need that respect from other men. So first example, well, in my case, I didn't have a present dad. So that was really not my role model. Actually, that was why I wanted to become successful by myself, because I saw what happened and it was not the path that I wanted. Okay. So I learned from that. But everybody else around me, and I spoke about it earlier, my professor in university, he was somebody that opened my path because he's the one that suggested I should be doing an MBA and not his class in pharmaceuticals, right?
Mm.
I Before that, when I was doing cardiac research, I had great mentors, and all of them, thinking about it, they were all men. They were all cardiac surgeons who saw something in me. They told me, you should be doing this, 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 this. And obviously, I have my business partner who's a man as well. And if we're in business together, is because obviously he gives me my space, right? So, and obviously the love of my life, who's my son, right? I see him. Yes, I've educated him in a way where you treat women with respect. It's normal. But it's also that it's in him, I see it. It's not something that I have to fight every day and say, hey, you have to. No, 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 no. He he sees how important it is to help us and to elevate us. And um, we need more like that. And so it's our job to make sure that our kids, right, my son, your son, they we lead by example. They see what we've been doing, but they see also what that we need help. It's not like, okay, I'm a woman, I can do it alone, because we are very hard-headed. And yes, I admit that is something that I have had to work a lot on, being able to ask for help. I hate asking for help. And I think that that's a trait of a strong woman. And if I would ask that question to all the women that were at the women award that evening, I think all of us would say that. But we do need their help because there's a different perspective, and together we can go beyond. And there's a statement that says, and we all hear it all the time, is behind every successful man there's a bright woman. But it's also the other way around, like,
And I actually really love, beside every great woman is a great man.
there
So
we go.
together we are stronger, and
That's
we
it.
complement each other.
Yeah.
And honestly, I look at some CEOs of companies, I'm like, why is there not like a co-decision
Yeah.
maker like in the
Yeah.
CEO space? Because
Yeah.
those are big roles,
Yeah.
and that diversity of opinion, making those big decisions
Yeah.
would be of value. Anyways, that's
Yeah.
I think we've got work to do, but at least we're having the conversation,
Yeah.
and it's never a smooth path, but at least we're having those conversations now.
Yeah.
And I think that we're opening up the opportunity for men to share openly about actually what they feel and how they
Yeah.
champion. And I don't know that we've really allowed them the opportunity to do that before. Um, Certainly not in the worlds and the networks that we've been in. So that's
Yeah.
why, and I pulled this out, you can see
Yeah.
strategically as You Women, Universal Women's Network, and the logo, it was together. There's women, right?
Yeah.
You got that? But,
Yeah.
oop, hold on, I'm going backwards here. There's men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And strategically with the bars, that is the equalizer where we got to have equality.
Yeah.
And so that brand with the Universal Women's Network and strategically with that logo in the black, white, and the gold, there's no pink, there's no purple,
Yeah.
there's no blue, there's no gender specific. It is gender neutral
Yeah.
because, I think that in order to move the needle, we need all hands on deck. And open up the opportunity where, I think businesses, I know the ones that we've spoken to, that inclusive culture is really, really
Yeah.
important within an organization. They want to recognize the contribution that women are making and
Yeah.
men are making, or that the individual's making in that job, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a bigger conversation, but I'm happy to, see that we're leading the charge in that and opening up opportunities, like even awarding men. Hopefully someday
Yeah.
Emmanuel will win an award as I support her, and he can proudly say, I did this
Yeah.
for my mom. I did this for
Yeah.
me, but I
Yeah.
did this for my mom,
Yeah.
right? That's super
Yeah.
great. And, like from the awardees that we have that were support hers, they're forever touched. And, like I've had Dio say, he took me aside when he won his award and he said, Monica, I've never been so seen before
Yeah.
because I silently am a champion for women. I am raising a daughter. I have incredible female leaders around me who I admire and respect, but I've never felt like I could really like thank you for seeing me because
Yeah.
I am really proud of the women in my world and I want to see them all succeed. So
Yeah.
that's what a
Yeah.
supporter is.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
so really great. And I love Emmanuel, and I know that he's going to be, an award recipient one day. And I look forward to that moment. I think that
Yeah.
would be super epic.
Absolutely.
You can tell him that would be his second one because the first one, you didn't win it. He actually won it.
I will. I'll let him know.
Yeah. So, okay, so we touched on your self-care routine, and we know that's super important to have that discipline. We talked about support hers and why it's so important to celebrate the achievements of women. Um, I just want to touch base on, we always look at those female role models that inspire us. So, who really has been one of those female leaders that you can, say, I really have been looking up to her for her leadership, and she's inspired me to be a better leader?
Well, I have a couple, but obviously my grandmother who raised me was and obviously now she's passed away for many years now, but she was really my role model. Strong character. When she wanted something, she would get it done no matter what. She didn't know the language, she didn't know how to do it, but she always got it done, you know? Again, it's determination, right? Um, I love, love, love Michelle Obama. Um, She's just such a role model, such a classy woman, straight to the point, but human.
Mhm.
And a lot of people, they used to tell me, you can't be in business because you're too nice. That's not true. I am nice. I mean, and I'm not going to change that who I am, right? But I'm not stupid. And you have to make the difference between those two things, right? And
Mhm.
Obama is a perfect example of that where I'm not friends with her, but you can truly see that that's who she is. It's not like closed doors, she's going to be somebody else, right?
Mm.
And she has that support from her husband, who was, president, who was higher, but I highly doubt it that he would ever make her think that, or feel, I should say, that he's, no. It shows that there are a couple that are, like equal and helping each other, right? So for me, that's a perfect example of how I perceive and how I would like to live my life. That there's a lot of other, obviously it's a lot of like business women, that I follow, that I read their books and whatnot. But that's somebody who I admire a lot and I look up to. Mhm.
And I think it gets a little harder in the spotlight as well
Oh
because you're
yeah,
always visible. And
absolutely,
to be
absolutely. And
consistent in the spotlight is you couldn't fake it. You
absolutely,
can't
you're gonna
fake that
crack. You're gonna crack.
authenticity.
You're gonna crack. Another person that I really enjoy a lot, of her authenticity. It's Megan. You know, and again, you just said it. A lot of people, they think, oh, because they have money, it's easier and whatnot. I think it's harder because you're here. It's as if you can't dictate what you want out of your life. You have to live that life that people will say, and I congratulate her and her husband for having decided that for them the best solution was to not go through that path, to respect what they wanted to do. And so for me, it's an example of knowing who you are, knowing what you want, what you're worth, and where you're heading. Because that happened to me when family members found out that I was starting a business in a different domain, that I've never left my career because I'll always be a nurse, right? Like I'll always keep my license because for me it's important. But um, in their mind, it's, you spend so much money in your studies. You're making a great salary. You have great insurance. You have great this. You travel. You da 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 da. To go and drop all that for starting at zero salary, for starting a company selling whatever you call it, for them, it was a disgrace. And so many times I was told that I was crazy, that I didn't know what I was doing. And so I admire people like her where, you know what? Yes, all that this chaos is around me and all these noises telling me, no, that's not what you need to do. But at the end of the day, Monica, and I'll always remember that, is I was 18, 19, 20, and there was most of my patients that were on their deathbed, no matter how old you were. They knew that they were going to die soon because they had a health issue, okay? And they were at the hospital because they were sick. All of them, not one, all of them would tell me, I have regrets in my life.
Mm.
I have regrets because I didn't do what I really wanted to do. I went into med school because my parents told me to. I married this person because it looked perfect. I did this because of money. But they are on their deathbed and they're thinking like that. And I'm going, wow, okay, no, 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 no. That's not for me. Yes, of course, when you're a kid, you have to follow like me. I tell Emmanuel, this is the way it is because that's how it is, right? But I'm not going to impose. This is what you have as assets. This is what you're positive. This is what you like. This is what makes you, happy and drives you. Find something that really ignites you every single day and that makes you all happy and proud of what you're doing. And that in the morning, you're not waking up going, oh, another day, because there's a lot of people like that, right? And that would be the worst. And so for me, the fact that I went the unconventional way, that I left my safe space, because that was my safe space, for something that I knew I had to do. Well, look at me now, and I'm proof that when you follow that instinct, like you said in the beginning, when you respect what you want to do, when you are able to stay focused on your beyond, on your, for me, in my case, my philanthropic mission, right? Of my why. Finding your why is so essential, right? Like you have found your why, and that's what keeps you motivated, right? That's what keeps you doing, all these things that you do, Monica, that a lot of people may think, well, why is she doing all that? Like it's so draining. Maybe it's not making, like a lot of things that people may say. Who are they to decide what you should be doing with your life? Who are they to decide how much money you should be making? Nobody. I should be the one. You should be the one. And I know today, and that's how I live, and that's what I tell Emmanuel. Today, when I go to bed, I'll be super happy and proud of my 24 hours, my day. And tomorrow I'll wake up and say, hey, let's go for another one.
Beautiful.
That's for me important, right? Whatever other people will say, you know what, Monica, I learned, and I think with time, with age, right? You get to that point where it's like, who cares? Who cares what they say? Talk bad, talk good, they're gonna talk. So go for
Let
it.
them, as Mel Robbins would say, let them.
That's
I
it.
love that.
Yeah.
It's great wisdom. Um, so I have a definition of a woman of inspiration after what you have just shared, but Sandra, what is your definition? If you can just summarize what your definition of a woman of inspiration is for our listeners.
Well, I truly believe a woman of inspiration, first and foremost, is a person that knows who they are, happy with who they are, know where they're heading, and so they are leading by example. For me, a woman of inspiration is being myself and noticing that I am inspiring others to be themselves. It's okay to be loud. It's okay to change careers. It's okay to want to start a business from scratch and to want to give back money. Where a lot of people were telling me that I was crazy, that I didn't know what I was doing. So that is for me a woman of inspiration, is that following that feeling, that want that you have, knowing who you are, that why am I here on this planet? What am I here for? When you find that, that's when you can inspire other people to become that person that they're supposed to be. Because Monica, so many people, if you ask them, what are you here for? I can guarantee you they would have no answer, because they have not taken the time to do that exercise, to do that introspect. And that tells me that that person is just going with the flow. And coming back to the patients that inspired me, that made me understand that, right? Oops, sorry. They I had told myself that's not the way I will live my life. Going, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to do it. No, don't go with the flow, because you're never going to end up doing anything that you've been wanting to do. That's for me, that's what it is.
Beautiful. There's so much there. I'm going to say a woman of inspiration, to put it very simply, wrap it all up, lives with no regrets. And
There we
she
go.
also leads by example, and she is inspired by a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
And I know that that's something very, very much a part of why I created the network and the awards and support her. And I mean, I have a massive, massive vision that would make most people's heads spin, but that's okay because it doesn't make my head spin. It gets me all
That's it.
excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to find our purpose. And I think, that's a whole other podcast, by the way, is talking about how you find your purpose. But I found that if you go back to every sort of situation in your life that has tested you, the adversity of that, start there, because that's where your purpose becomes. That's when you get through that, or you have that power, you're like, okay, I can get through that. Now what do I want to get? What can I do with the power? Why did I learn that lesson? Or why did I have to go through that? And if you don't do something with that, then you're kind of, it's almost like a waste of time,
Yeah,
right? So spend some time really figuring out why I need to do that and what I can do to utilize that as a superpower.
absolutely. Yeah.
So lots of conversations we had. Sandra, I just want to say it was such a pleasure having you on the Woman of Inspiration podcast. I am super excited about the journey ahead. Of course, you're going to be along the journey with us, and really, really love your enthusiasm, support, and passion for everything that you're doing to empower leaders as an authentic leader for Women of Inspiration Awards. And so when the listeners want to learn a little bit more about what you're doing, contact you, what's the best way to do that, Sandra? Because we can send them to your website or LinkedIn or social. Where can they
Yeah,
find you?
well, the best ones to get in contact with me directly would be my LinkedIn or my Instagram. That would be the best. Obviously, on my website, we're redoing the website, so there's only 3 pages right now, but still, it's up and running. But yeah, I'm very reachable.
Beautiful. And, just maybe pop into the notes because I'm sure your mailbox is full, like mine is. I heard you on the Woman of Inspiration podcast, and I'd love to connect with you. And
Yeah,
then we know kind of the gist of kind of what might have piqued their interest of why they want to connect up with you. So
correct.
thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to our listeners. And I always say that please share this message widely with your network. There is always going to be somebody that needs to hear the message that we've talked about and shared today. And so let's inspire others to greatness and inspire that change and get people on the path to purpose and leading by example. So thank you so much, Sandra. It was an awesome podcast, and we'll see you again very soon. Take care.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you.